My journal entry for this past week comes from 1 Samuel chapter 15 verses 13 through 24 and then verse 28 later. So I wrote verses 22 out, but all of it, I'll explain it. It says, "But Samuel replied, 'What is more pleasing to the Lord, your burnt offerings and sacrifices, or your obedience to his voice? Listen, obedience is better than sacrifice, and submission is better than offering the fat of rams. Rebellion is as sinful as witchcraft, and stubbornness as bad as worshiping idols. So because you have rejected the command of the Lord, he has rejected you.' Then Saul admitted to Samuel, 'Yes, I have sinned. I have disobeyed your instruction and the Lord's command, for I was afraid of the people and did what they demanded.' So Saul was crowned king even with his faults. God still used him. The Lord commanded Saul to destroy the Amalekites and everything they owned. Saul destroyed most of them except the king, and his army took the livestock. God tells Samuel he has rejected Saul as king. Samuel meets Saul the next day, and Saul is cheerful, completely knowing what he has done. He tells Samuel, 'I did what the Lord asked.' Samuel replies and calls out his weakness with the people. Saul is trying to make his disobedience look good by saying, 'We are going to sacrifice them to God.' That's when Samuel says, 'Dude, your disobedience is what,' let me try it again. It says, 'Dude, your obedience is what God wanted. You messed up.' Saul then comes clean and blames the people because that was his weakness. Saul calls that out in him later, or before this, and says that he is weak among the people, I believe is what it said. So anyway, Saul then comes clean and blames the people. He wanted to do what they wanted. Because of this, God will not let his kingdom reign, not let Saul's kingdom reign over Israel. So this makes me think back to the Garden of Eden and the cycle of sin, shame, and blame, and disobedience. Eve disobeyed. She brings Adam to disobey as well. And shame and blame come, like she says, or Adam says, 'The woman you gave me made me eat.' The serpent you gave made me eat some." Anyway, just made me think of that. Saul knew what needed to be done, just like Adam knew and what needed to be done. He let the people, or the troops, convince him to keep the livestock. He is found guilty. Then he is discovered and blames the people. He asks for forgiveness, but it is not enough. Just as Adam and Eve were cast out, Saul is cast out of delivering Israel. Could someone from his lineage deliver God's people like Jesus did if he had not sinned and disobeyed? Now it will be David, and David will be the one to be king, and Jesus will come through him. Then my respond is, "Dear Lord, I want to obey all the things you want me to do. I do not want to be swayed by the people. I want to know and do all the things you call me to do, so that I do not lose my calling with you. Send me and use me for what you have called me, and guard my heart from persuasion and the things of this world. Amen."